Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum.
I'll take on any job for the right price.
You are free to use any methods necessary, but I want them alive. No disintegrations.
As you wish.
Captain Catherine.
He's all yours, bounty hunter.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Welcome in to the Carbonite Chronicles, presented by the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. This podcast is dedicated to reviewing and discussing the Disney Plus mega hit, The Mandalorian. Some introductions first. My name is Matt.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Mike.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's
Hi.
going on?
Not too much. Live action Star Wars is going on.
Yeah, weekly. What a great time to be alive.
Should we let them know?
Yeah, sure.
And let me know while you're at it.
Yeah.
We're gonna spoil everything for everyone. So
Oh, yes. Okay.
You wanna-
Yeah, hit it. Hit it.
That's right, everybody. If you don't want to be spoiled, just turn off the podcast because we're going to be reviewing and spoiling everything in this episode. So, gentlemen, Chapter 6, The Prisoner.
The Prisoner. Has every episode been, except for the first one, been the something?
I think so.
I believe we've had the child, the sin. What was episode 4?
The farm.
I don't want to know what that one was. But then,
Chapter 4 was just called Sanctuary.
oh, yeah, so it wasn't the. Okay.
More of an outlier.
Gotcha.
I think the next episode is actually called The.
You know, it's amazing. Every single episode, I have to give him credit.
And then the
is-
next one's called End.
Nice. It's like bad dinner theater.
It is.
Every episode so far has been very different from the previous. I really am impressed on how unique and how different these stories are, each episode, each chapter that they're giving us here. Even though it's a general linear story, it's very much, very unique, very cool stories. And everything is visually kind of special to each chapter,
Yeah, so this one was the kind of the team up like heist movie,
Yeah.
I guess.
I liked it.
you got the
I was
team of
very,
misfits.
very much from start to finish. I thought this was a great episode.
Why don't you give us the tale of the tape here? Let's go through this episode and start breaking it down.
Yeah, it starts with the Razor Crest coming into shot out of hyperspace into, I guess, a docking bay in a big station.
Yeah, very cinematic shot. Looked great. Mando is approached by a guy named Ran, who apparently is an old associate of the Mandalorians.
Yeah,
Kind of
we're
a
seeing
Santa Claus looking guy.
Yeah, he's a jolly old fellow in space there. This is Mando's old crew that he kind of cut his teeth with when he was younger, apparently. So we get a little backstory on the Mando.
Yeah, and he finds out in pretty short order that, Ran is not really interested in him per se, but mostly his ship. Mm-hmm. And the Mando ain't too happy about this.
I think it's really kind of, I like the exposition and backstory on the Razor Claw itself. I actually went back today and I watched most of chapter 1 of The Mandalorian, and it's that first part where where that alien, his first bounty, is kind of talking about the Razor Claw, how it's pre-Empire and a classic, and I like learning about this ship. Every little nook and cranny in the ship is pretty unique and pretty cool. So any kind of backstory in the ship is a good thing. But it's pre-Empire,
Yes.
which means that not just the old Empire, but the New Republic can't pick it up it's kind of off their radar per se.
Well, yeah, I think he has some instrumentation on board that makes that possible. Whatever the reason, I think the reason they wanted it was because it could be invisible and dock with this prison ship.
Yeah. So we see Mando get saddled with a new crew. He's part of a crew now.
Yes.
And big surprise actually. I he was in the trailer, but I didn't pick up on it. But Bill Burr is in this episode, and I love Bill Burr. I think he's great. And he played Mayfield, who was an ex-Imperial sharpshooter, and I liked how they put a little dig into stormtroopers with him too.
He's like, I ain't no stormtrooper.
The Mando's like, that's not saying much.
Yeah. He had a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, probably the least imaginative costume of any Star Wars person I've ever seen.
That's true.
Hey, put him in some dark khakis and a sweater.
And I could be wrong, but I didn't see him do any sharpshooting in this episode.
No, I mean he had that little the gun backpack thing.
Well,
but I don't
any
know.
robot on your back can shoot pretty well, I'm sure, but I didn't
Correct.
see him bullseye anything with his pistol.
No, I mean he made quick work of some droids, but
You know what, though? You're kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but I feel like the opening scene with the Mandalorian, he didn't really seem like he was in control of the situation. Like he seemed, you know what I mean? It was sort of like
he's over a barrel, absolutely.
He's like, okay, what do you need me to do? And he's like, oh, I want to use your ship. And he's like, well, that wasn't part of the deal. And then he's like, and? And the droid immediately goes in and starts futzing with it. What I do like about the show is the character isn't like Superman. But in this episode particularly, it was like he was just sort of like a little kid. Like, okay, all right, I guess we're going over there now. You know, that sort of thing. So I think that was a little strange at first.
I think he's at a place now where he is kind of over a barrel because his allies are dwindling by the day. And
Right.
To his mind, this old pal of his is taking him in, and even if he wants to do something that wasn't agreed upon, I feel like he doesn't think he has a choice.
Well, I don't think he has a lot of reserve.
He doesn't
credits.
he doesn't have a lot to options. He kind of has to take what he's given.
The universe is closing in on him, so he's stuck in the dregs here. And to your point, Jared, he has to take this job because he has to get money. He has to put fuel in the ship. He has to be able to move.
Yeah,
and
Feed a child.
And it's tough because even his old friends are starting to hear about what happened to him, and that he's a wanted man. So the universe is coming after him. So it's getting tougher and tougher to put gas in that ship and feed the mouths. So he's got to take the job. And what is the job?
they're breaking out a prisoner.
Yeah, Prison Break.
And we got to meet the rest of his crew. We have a Twi'lek girl named Xian? All I know is the closed captioning spelled it Xian.
Yeah, I think it's Xian.
Yeah. And we've got a droid named Zero.
Which I thought was interesting because, you know, the droids in the Star Wars universe always have a few little monikers to it. C-3PO, R2-D2. Then you got Zero.
Yeah.
It's just Zero. I'm sure it's a nickname, but I like how it's just Zero.
He's another droid that seems to have just sort of gone out on his own and doesn't really have a master or anything like that. He's just kind of freelancing on his own.
He really reminded me of the droid from Rebels, actually, believe it or not.
The Alan Rickman droid?
Yeah, he kind of had that almost sarcastic, droll kind of way about him, his personality. So I kind of go back to that. But
yeah, he had the kind of the insectoid face.
Yeah, exactly. And a big surprise was Clancy Brown showing up as Berg.
That was pretty awesome.
I didn't even really realize that was him.
Really?
Later.
Man, the minute he opened his mouth, I'm like,
oh yeah.
Well, the voice. Brown. I thought he just looped him because Clancy Brown is. He's no spring chicken.
No, well, actually, this character didn't move like a spring chicken either.
No,
I'm kind of surprised
he was just.
But even so,
but that was really cool.
And plus, he didn't have his trademark, like I guess he usually has a beard now. So he didn't have that on.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of makeup on. So I thought he was possibly looping the actor that was playing him, but I didn't.
No,
realize that was.
It was definitely his face. So they have to pile in the Razor Claw, and the droid Zero is going to be at the helm because it has to have super precision flying out of hyperspace to do a specific maneuver so this Razor Claw can attach itself to the New Republic prison ship.
Yeah.
So we see the journey to the prison ship is fraught with some problems.
Yeah, Bill Burr starts being a real jerk. He thinks he's found the Mando's pet, and he starts acting very careless with it.
Yeah.
And that actually made me a little nervous while watching the show, acting like he was going to drop it and then actually dropping it.
Yeah, I think the Mandalorian probably should have clocked him for that one.
Well, it seemed like the entire new crew is testing him. Every single one of them is kind of testing him.
Well,
It doesn't seem like any of them respect him.
he has a history
They're
with
just-
the Twi'lek.
It's like a joke to him.
Right, with Xi'an. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Maybe
has a
something
history with
romantic.
her.
Couldn't tell.
Possibly.
But he's being tested, and they're definitely pushing his buttons from the start.
Yeah. And at least he did. At least he didn't leave the child with Ran, which he probably would have if he was like he was last week.
Yeah, watch the kid. But great visuals. I mean, the show visually is just spectacular. It's like watching a movie. The Razor Claw abruptly comes out of hyperspace. Zero doesn't give them much warning, and kind of rocks them around the boat as he docks onto the prison ship.
Yeah, the prison ship. Do you remember Han Solo's freighter in Force Awakens? The giant freighter that he had.
Yes.
That prison ship reminded me a lot of that ship. And I went back to one of my visual guides and looked at it. It's very similar design.
It kind of reminded me of something you would have seen in Rebels.
Maybe something you'd have seen in the original Battlestar Galactica. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a ragtagger. But it was very cool because once they got inside, I mean, it's just levels and levels of prison cells. And
I mean, what the
it was
heck
almost
is-
kind of comical. I mean,
Well, what do they do? Because that ship is that ship going somewhere? Because it's not in hyperspace. It's just kind of floating there.
it's a prison cruise.
Is it just? Do they just keep them? Just keep these criminals in interstellar space?
Yeah, I don't know, but
That
but
could be it. That's their prison.
Well, that
sentence.
New Republic pilot has the worst job in history.
oh my gosh. So they're in the ship, and we see they encounter some of the guard droids, and the crew's having a bit of a problem with these droids. They're kind of getting pinned down, and
Yeah, I thought they were
Mandalorian-
cool looking.
I did too. Yeah, the Mandalorian gets behind him and wrecks all four of them. It's a great sequence. I mean, you really kind of you get to see the real capabilities of the Mando. And you know what I liked about it? When he fried one, or at least he tried to fry one of the robots, and you could tell that when his fire is hitting the robot, the accelerant of the fire is sticking to the robot. So
Yeah.
it's just metal, but the whole robot is on fire
It's on
because of it. So
fire.
it kind of makes you kind of get a little more insight into that little flamethrower he's got too.
Yeah, it's cool, and he gets some respect from his teammates there as they watch him dismantle those droids. There's kind of knowing glances between them, like, oh yeah, okay, well, here we go. At least between Bill Burr and Sheehan. Something else, another droid that I noticed. These large R1 units that were kind of, they resembled like elongated barrels that just floated.
Yeah.
Those can
like
be
the ones from A New Hope.
Yep, those can be seen on the Sandcrawler. Yep. But we've never seen them in motion before. They've always just been kind of sitting there on the ground. But it's the first time you see these R1 droids sort of up, moving around, and I thought that was
that's
kind of
cool.
a neat.
I have to go back and watch that then. I want to see him in A New Hope. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then do they now pay a visit to the cockpit?
They make it all the way to the bridge, right?
And this poor guy, who
This is when things go wrong.
is played by Matt Lanter, who was the voice of Anakin in the Clone Wars.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, and like I said, this guy has like the worst job ever. I mean, he's on a slow-moving spaceship full of criminals, and he's like, it's just him and droids. Hopefully he gets relieved every once in a while, but that's not really a problem.
So Mayfeld is kind of running the show, and he's about to blast this guy, but the Mandalorian tries to talk him off the ledge there, and he's trying to talk to the pilot and kind of talk some sense to him, saying, look, you're not going to come out of this alive unless you cooperate. And as they're having this discussion, there are guns out everywhere, and everyone's pointing a gun at everybody. Nobody's trusting anybody, and then the Twi'lek offs the pilot with a knife.
Yes.
And down he goes. But in his hand is a very cheaply looking prop.
Yeah, the thing was kind of...
Yeah.
Now, I think it's intentionally
it's like a remote for my Christmas lights.
Man.
Kind of reminded me... I was wondering if he's going to pull that antenna out further, like that commander in the
holiday special.
So
when he pulls out his walkie-talkie.
He's holding an emergency beacon, an emergency New Republic beacon. So if he pushes the button, the New Republic will receive a distress signal and be on his position within 20 minutes. So, and it is the cheapest looking prop I've seen in the show yet.
But you know,
I'm guessing it's intentional to look that way.
Sure, it's fine. It fits in.
Yeah, exactly. But so he does push the button on his way to his dirt nap and alerts the New Republic that there's problems.
So now we have a time crunch, and we are there to rescue the brother of the Twi'lek named Quinn. We find out another purple-skinned Twi'lek. So
it's a grudge against Mando.
Yeah, he didn't like him, and I thought, Bill Burr had some, I guess, funny in-universe. He called Sheehan a crazy twee once. I kind of like the in-universe slang. Like, What are you doing, you crazy twee? Which is probably kind of derogatory, I would imagine. And then, it made the joke about being a Gungan underneath. He goes, maybe he's a Gungan underneath that. We start doing this.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty
Which
funny.
may have been a little too on the nose, but I thought it was pretty funny.
I wonder if any of that was improv, but
probably.
But so it looks like once they get Quinn out, it looks like it was a bit of a setup with the crew to trap Mando in the cell.
Oh, I think it definitely was.
Yeah.
So they kind of surprise him and kick him from behind, and he gets kind of stumbled into the cell, and they shut the cell door and trap him in the prison.
Yeah, and this is like when the episode really takes off for me, when he starts by grabbing that droid with his grappling hook, and then ripping his arm
way
off
out of the cell. Yeah,
that was funny. The arm rip with the oil spray.
Yeah, they have a thing about droids getting
gruesomely
hitting arteries in the droids or something.
There has to be an inside joke there, because obviously they're not showing any kind of gore in these episodes, but with the droids are bleeding all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, they ripped his arm off, and he then manipulates out the kind of like the data pod in all these things to turn the lock. But why is there a lock inside? There's a lock inside his cell that the droid can unlock from inside.
This is where
in case a droid locks himself in there.
I guess, but then the Mando starts to hunt them, and it's kind of a cool scene because Zero from the cockpit realizes that the Mandalorian is loose, and you can kind of see the panic in the group as
that kind of reminded me. I don't know if you've ever seen the Clint Eastwood movie Pale Rider.
Sure.
Where at the end of the movie, when he goes after the guys, and he's like offing them one by one.
I'm sure it's very much supposed to be paralleled that way.
Yeah, and it's all creepy with the red light and the. I got to say, I did watch this on my big screen, and man, that flashing white light when because it was all red and then a white light would flash. That was really tough on the eyes, and I think it was supposed to be because
disorients you.
Because Mayfeld couldn't see. He couldn't see very well, and there was that really cool shot of every time the light would flash, you'd see the Mandalorian getting closer to him.
Oh, that was great.
And then when he turned around, he got around him and then took him down.
he kind of split the group up into 2 and 2. Quinn and Mayfeld got stuck in one part of the ship, and Sheehan and Berg. Berg.
Yeah,
got,
I liked
got caught
Berg.
in the other.
I like Berg's takedown.
So let me tell
I
you,
like that he
this
blasted him in the face with fire.
That's
Like,
exactly
he's
so.
the devil.
We've only seen this species a few times. We saw him once in the species in A New Hope in the Cantina,
Yes.
and I think we saw once or twice in Clone Wars and Rebels.
He was in Rebels. They had one in
Yeah.
Rebels for sure.
But this is the first time
Zago.
you get a lot. You get the first look at what the species is capable of.
Yeah.
And it seems like they can take an amazing amount of punishment. Yeah. And I think it's kind of funny how they're fireproof.
Yeah,
So-
because they're obviously the original mask for New Hope was really an off the shelf kind of devil mask.
Right. So
And-
I think that's a great nod that
Yeah, and
Berg is fireproof.
yeah, that insinuating that their fire doesn't bother them, which is
Right.
cool. And he was, that fight with Berg was pretty awesome. I thought because
Yeah, it
I
was
thought he killed him at the end
What-
when he slammed those doors on his
Yes.
face. I thought he's dead.
But you see later, it chopped his horns off, like
Right.
parts of his horns off. But yeah, that was a good fight when he drops the door on him, and then Berg sort of like raises it up, and then he gets the other door slammed.
But while this whole thing is going on, Zero in the cockpit of the Razor Claw is constantly trying to decode the message that the Mandalorian got from Grief earlier
Yes.
on. It's a bit scrambled, and he finally descrambles it and finds out that the Mandalorian has a very high-priced target in the ship, which he correctly assumes is the Baby Yoda that they found.
Yes.
So now Zero is on a mission to either obtain or eliminate the target. And if you noticed, he's using a Blastech EE3 blaster, just like Boba Fett had.
Oh, nice! I didn't
It
pick
was
that
identical
up.
to Boba Fett. So it was kind of cool to see that guy. And speaking of blasters, by the way, when the Mandalorian was in the jail cell and he got the droid over to the side and he ripped his arm off, he blasted him through the door with his own blaster. And that's the same kind of blaster they were using in A New Hope in the Tantive 4.
Oh, okay, nice.
But it was kind of cool to see that actually up close and be effective for once.
Yeah,
That
be
that blaster.
effective.
But no, but Zero's hunting.
So
Baby
yeah,
Yoda this
they
whole
play
time
a
as
little
well.
game of hide and seek. And what I wondered was, a droid's eyes probably don't work like a human's. I wonder if Zero could have just sort of, done an infrared pass or something and say, "Oh, look, he's over there behind that container."
So Mando takes care of everybody on the prison ship, and then we cut back to a cornered Baby Yoda who looks like he's about to use the Force on Zero.
Yes.
And it's kind of a funny moment because all of a sudden Zero kind of explodes, and Baby Yoda looks shocked at his own hand.
It
like,
looks
"Did I
at his
just do
hand
that?"
like, "What?" But of course, it's the Mando saving him.
Yeah.
They do a lot of freakouts like that, or not freakouts, but
Fake outs.
fake outs. Yeah, like that on that show, where you
Yeah,
think someone shot.
that's
and
true.
then it's like someone else shot.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
we assume now, we don't see at this point, but we assume that Mando has most likely killed everybody on the ship, on his whole crew, and he leaves and heads back to the station. He drops off. Oh, I'm sorry. At this point, it's just Quinn and the Mando, and Quinn kind of negotiates a stay for his life. Say, look, I'll
Yeah.
get you more money, get me back alive, do your job. You have some honor. You can't kill me. I'm here. I'm your job.
Yeah.
And Mando takes him back to the station.
Yeah, he gets him back to Ran, and, they're obviously buddies.
Man, I love this scene too. This is such a cool sequence.
And so the Mando gets paid, and Ran inquires about the others, but he's like, "Nope, no questions asked." He's like, "All right." So as the Mandalorian makes his way out of the docking bay,
Well, Ran orders one of, I guess, his droid gunship to go take him out.
yeah, which is looks like General Grievous's ship.
Yeah,
from
very much.
Episode 3, which that's what I thought of immediately. But Yeah, so that's a pretty cool looking ship comes out of the floor. Then Quinn's pants start buzzing. And then a great fan service shot here at the end. We get 3 T-65 X-Wing fighters almost colliding with the Mandalorian as he leaves the station. Original trilogy X-Wing fighters, really awesome, of course, who are coming to... I guess, no questions asked. I guess if that beacon goes off, you just blow that place up.
I think it was because the gunship was launching that they felt
shot
it was
the
hostile.
gunship.
Yeah,
And then they
true.
just seemed to just have some target practice on the station.
Yeah, then they started shooting up the station. Oh,
But we saw some key things. We saw as soon as the X-Wings appeared, ran. He left the bay.
yeah.
So we don't know if he's gone. We don't know if he survived or if he got killed in this assault. And then we get to see a kind of a surprise shot back on that New Republic prison ship.
Yes.
Mando has instead of killing everyone, he put them all in a cell. And do you know what this reminded me of, guys? The first thing that came to my head.
What's that?
I'm thinking, man, this is like General Zod right now in the Phantom Zone. You've got Berg, you've got Sheehan, and you got Mayfield. I felt like it's like all three of them in the Phantom Zone in prison there.
We're
And
sorry.
then you're going to see them. Because I guarantee you see these guys again. At least I hope you do in season 2.
I would imagine so. I mean,
So,
they didn't leave them alive for nothing. But
right, exactly.
the X-Wing pilots were played by Dave Filoni, the director of the episode, Rick Fuyama, and Deborah Chow was the other.
Oh, it's great. All
Yeah.
the directors.
So I thought that was a cool little cameo.
Did you notice the alien from Solo?
Yeah,
that
the
John Favreau-
Ardenian was
Yeah,
in.
there was one of those in a cell.
Yeah, because he put all 4 of his arms up on and made a little monkey noise. That was a nice little touch.
And then we see the Mandalorian with Baby Yoda having a little kind of like, I told you it was a bad idea kind of chuckle, and the episode
He
ends
gives him the gear shifter knob again.
to play with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
Chapter 6, guys, it's almost done. Season 1 is almost over, and every episode to me has just been fantastic. The show just delivers every single time.
okay, well, I'm glad you feel that way because I'm going to talk about something now.
Do it.
They have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt they can make a 30-minute Star Wars TV show that looks, feels, and is, just fun as hell and is Star Wars. They have done that.
Yes.
The
Yes.
first 3 episodes, not an ounce of fat on those episodes. Those episodes pushed the story forward. This was something that the story was the acquisition of the child and the eventual change of heart and the escape. Now, once the escape started, I'm starting to feel some wheels spinning now. Like, don't get me wrong. It is ridiculous for me to complain about this show. And I'm not, because every week I enjoy every episode. But we've got probably an hour's worth of Mandalorian left. And are we going to just keep hopping from
Adventure to
from
adventure.
port to port with this kid in tow with no plan? I mean, I'm sure, obviously, there's a plan, but we've gone on these side quests now for 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for some forward motion towards the end of the season.
I kind of felt the same way after the episode was over. Like, I liked it, but I didn't feel like it moved the story forward a lot. But I mean, we haven't seen the last 2 episodes, so who knows how these might
No, of course.
tie in. But at this point, it does seem like, the last few episodes have been filler-ish.
Yes.
Because the first 3 were like one story. It's like the pilot episode of Battlestar Galactica, and now we're to the Planet of the Week.
Correct. And I just, with so few episodes and short episodes, I would I'm really surprised at the filler. But it is,
You know,
I mean, it's great filler, don't get me wrong. And, these things, everything that's happened to him so far is going to come back in some way. He hasn't seen the last of Omera, the lady friend he made on that planet. We haven't seen the last of the Phantom Zone criminals. And, the mystery set up at the end of the Gunslinger is quite fascinating. And they're obviously going somewhere with that.
Well, that's, I agree with all your points, and I see what you're saying, and it is to an extent spinning its wheels a little bit. However, these are very short episodes, and we did spend half the season so far building the story and building the character and his lore up, and now you're spent the next 3 episodes shrinking the universe down on top of them. So I think it's fair to say at this point, we all get it that he's a wanted man, and there's not a lot of refuge places where he can take cover and get on the ground. So I'm hoping that, 2 things. One, I'm hoping that these next few episodes are long. This one was 44 minutes. I'm hoping that we see at least that, if not more, for the last 2 episodes.
For the last 2 episodes, if I pop that thing open and see, 62 minutes,
exactly,
that's going to be amazing.
So maybe we'll get to see that. I'm hoping we get to see some long episodes to finish the season with. And then the second point is we do have to have some kind of event that takes place that puts the story in high gear, because we haven't met the warlord.
Yeah, played by
what's his name?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Exactly. So we haven't met him yet, and we know he's coming. So, there's some heavy storylines still to be played out. So I have high hopes that we see a lot of that in the next 2 episodes, and I hope we get some big time chunks that we get to see it in.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, I still love the show, and
of course,
that's just me, like, down in the middle of it on a week-to-week basis. I'm sure my feelings on it will change once the bigger picture is out there.
Hey, listen, once the season is over and you got to take a pause from it, you're going to miss your day-to-day episodes of Where's Mandalorian going to take a dump today?
Yeah, dude. And I'd watch those episodes as well. Make no mistake.
But yeah, The Mandalorian. I love it. I love it.
And we only have 5 days until the next one. The next one airs on Wednesday, right in front of Rise of Skywalker. So, man, it's crazy. Think, within a week, we're going to get another episode of The Mandalorian and a new Star Wars movie. That's
pretty cool.
That's crazy. It's inconceivable.
Cool time to be a Star Wars fan.
Absolutely.
But thanks for listening, everybody, to the Carbonite Chronicles. We'll be back in under a week.
Yeah.
Giving you our thoughts on Chapter 7, whatever that main name is.
That's right. It's the.
I'm predicting it now.
Okay, perfect.
So if you like this podcast, leave a comment, give us a review. We love your feedback, and we love you listening to us. We'll catch you next week, guys.
We have spoken.
I have spoken.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to the Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.
From start to finish, I thought this was a great episode.
Who wants a Charlie in a box?
What the hell are you talking about?
What is it,
Misfit
Charlie?
God, are you drunk tonight? What are you doing?
From the Red Riding, not Red Rudolph the Red Nose.
Man,
God almighty.
Sorry.
All right. Okay, so